Alright, what is up guys? So in today's video, I'm going to show you 5 secret scratch tricks that everyone should know. Let's get right into it. Okay, so up first is our stage boundary hack. So in this one, as we move the scratch cat to the right, you'll see as it approaches the edge of the stage, it's going to hit a certain point where it just stops right there. So you can see that how the tail is still sticking out and it's not fully over the edge of the stage and you can't move it any further than this. So we're just going to center it back up on the stage, and then if we go to our costume tool, zoom out all the way, and then go over to your rectangle shape tool, and then set the fill to transparent, and then also do the outline to transparent as well. And you're just going to draw a transparent rectangle over the entire little costume editor thing. So after you do this, you can go back to your code tab, and then if you try to move it again, you'll see that as it gets close to that edge, you're going to be able to move it right past there. How cool is that? And before we go on to the next one, if you made it this far in the video, hit that like and subscribe button. Help me grow my channel. And so our second one here is going to be our size hack. So as you may or may not know, Scratch has a limitation on how big your sprites can get. So let's just run through this quickly to see what the limit is for our Scratch cat. So as we make it bigger and bigger here, we're going to see that once it reaches a certain point here, it's just going to stop getting bigger, even if we're trying to make it bigger. So what you're going to want to do is, once again, we're going to do this by going into our costume tab, and then we're just going to delete costume 2 here, and then paint a new one, and then we're going to zoom in here, and then with the paint tool, we're going to just make a small dot on the center of our editor here. And now we have our normal cat costume, and then the little size hat costume for our little dot we painted. And so what we're going to do is we're going to code this very similar to how you'd code a hitbox in a platformer game. And then, so you're going to drag in a when green flag clicked, and then a forever loop. And then you're going to say, switch our costume to our costume 2, which is our little dot we drew. And then after we change our size by 10, we're going to set our costume back to the original one. And as we see, we have fixed the scratch limitation, and we can now make our sprite pretty much as big as we want. We're going to run through this to see where it stops. So we're going to see it stops at like 10,800. I think that's big enough for all your purposes. But on to the next one, which is our previous costume block. So as many of you know, Scratch has a next costume block. And so to illustrate this next one, we're going to just make 3 different costumes for our Scratch cat. Just put a number here. You don't have to do this, but this is just so I can illustrate it for you. So starting out here, we're going to just show you what the next costume block does. It just runs through our costumes, going to the next one available. And then the way we're going to code this is there's a block that says switch costume 2. And then inside that little thing where it usually says costume 1, 2, 3, whatever your costume is named, you're going to drag in a subtraction operator. It's going to be right at the top there. And then inside this, you're going to say switch costume to costume number -1. So this is going to take into account the current costume you're on, and then just subtract 1 from that. So as you can see, it works perfectly. We can switch back and forth the costumes. Now, if you want to get extra fancy with this, you can go down to My Blocks, and you can make a new block for this. Just call it Previous Costume as shown here. Hit Run without screen refresh for extra effect. It's not really necessary, but you can do whatever you want with that. So then as you can see, we now have a Previous Costume block, which goes to your previous costume. And we also have our next costume block. Nice. So on to the next one, which is our black and white effect. This is going to be a quick one, but it's very useful for special effects in your games. We're just going to delete our Scratch cat that comes with every new project, and then choose a backdrop, and we're going to get this one that says flowers. I think this is a nice colorful one to illustrate this. It doesn't matter what you do. It's going to stay the same effect. So we're just going to code it to say when space key pressed, we're going to set color effect to join infinity, and make sure you spell this with a capital I. We're going to say join infinity and then blank. And then if we open up our full screen here and hit the space key, boom, you'll see we have a black and white effect for our flower. Very cool. And our last one, I did make a video on this previously, but it wasn't very good. It was when I was first starting. So I'm going to reteach it now in higher quality. So it is a when stop sign clicked block. So I know all of you are familiar with the when green flag clicked block. And then, so we're just going to illustrate this by saying when green flag clicked, we're going to say green flag clicked to show you the comparison later on. So we have that running. So now it's time to program our when stop sign clicked block. So to do this, we're going to use the timer. So we're going to say when green flag clicked, and then a forever loop. and then we're going to be constantly resetting the timer. So that timer is always going to be ticking back to 0 no matter what happens. And then the detection aspect of this is going to be when timer is greater than 0.1. So it'll detect when the project is stopped, the timer is going to tick up and it's going to be greater than 0.1, and we're going to be able to detect when the stop sign is clicked. And as you can see here, we're going to illustrate this. And perfect. So I'd say the best use for this is probably for thumbnails for your projects, so they can show up when your viewers stop the project, so they don't see all the little mess that goes on once you stop a project. And anyway, those are the 5 scratch tricks that everyone should know. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time. Bye.